What's up, life groups? All right, let's get right into it. James chapter 1, verse 5, if you want to turn there, says this: If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it'll be given to you. What is the promise right there? The promise is if you need help and you go to God, He will give you wisdom. I love it. But here's a stipulation. Ready for this? But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. You know, we started off this series about discovering God's purpose for our life by what purpose is. And then we moved into the 5 different purposes that work together to help you discover God's plan and be a part of what He's doing and be included in making a difference with your life. But how can we not finish without talking about doubt? What a real issue for all of us. And I'll speak for myself, but I'm going to guess you too. Like, doubt is actually more of a part of having faith than most of us want to admit. You know, we read verses like this and it kind of scares us. Like, you got to ask, but you know, God's only going to help you if you don't doubt. But we talked about that this weekend. You know, the word diakrino is the word diakrino, meaning to divide, and krino meaning to judge, meaning you are standing there kind of picking this way or that way. And like James says, you're like a wave tossed in the sea. You're like, do I listen to this voice or do I listen to that voice? And that's really what doubt is. It's not about so much about having more faith. It's actually just about telling your faith to pick a side. Am I going to believe what God says, or am I going to believe one of these other voices that's in my life? And I want you to do this. I want you to hold up your hands real quick, and I want you to, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to go through the 5 purposes, and you tell me how doubt has impacted your growth in that area. You tell me how you're doing on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you're overcoming this semester. So this last semester, we talked about worship. Worship, purpose number 1, right? Loving God back, trusting and obeying God. On a scale of 1 to 10, has there been any overcoming of doubt there? How have you grown in worship to God? Number 2, that was fellowship. Worship is about how we love God. Fellowship is about how we love God's people. Have you grown in your love for each other? Think about the people in your group right now. This should be a home run, right? Like, have you gotten to know people? Do you care about them more? Do you feel like you're part of a spiritual family? Number 3, discipleship. Our growth is not just to become a better person, but become like God. You know, discipleship is our journey to become more like Jesus. Are there areas of your life that look more like Jesus? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. You know, it says in Galatians 5, this is the fruit of the Spirit. This is what it's like when you look and live like Jesus. Are there areas there that have grown? On a scale of 1 to 10, would you say, yeah, you know, ask the group, have I grown in my pursuit, my reflection of God? Number 4 is ministry or service. You know, the way we serve God's people is ministry, and you have gifts for that, and we talked about that. What does it look like in your life to serve the people of God? Where are your gifts at work in your faith community? Is there doubt there? Have you been hesitant to jump in and serve? Is that an area that you can step out in faith and overcome doubt? And then lastly would be evangelism. If ministry is how we serve God in the church, evangelism is how we serve God out of the church. If service of ministry is to God's people in the 4 walls, then evangelism is outside the 4 walls. And my question for you is, has that changed? I know it was just last week, but you know, we talked about this idea of laying our life down for others, the least, the last, and the lost. And has that grabbed hold of your heart yet? Have you found yourself gravitating, making an intentional effort toward coworkers or neighbors or people in your life that don't know Christ? And when you look at all 5 of those things together and you consider how doubt is that such an easy way to slow down from pursuing God or to hold you back, what is it that you need to talk about in your group? What is the one area that if you were to just say, hey, I'm going to overcome this doubt, I'll no longer be like a wave tossed in the ocean if I can just decide today that I'm going to make this step of faith, then you'll be following what James says next in chapter 1. He continues to say, do not merely listen to the word, verse 22, and so deceive yourself, but do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in the mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forget what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in whatever they do. You'll be blessed in whatever you do, because when you join what God is doing, that's already blessed. Worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, evangelism. These are the 5 purposes that as they work together in your life, you move toward what He's called you to do. God has set you apart to make an influence in this world, to make a difference. And that grows as you trust Him more, and these things come together. But if we're just learners but not doers, then I can't promise that you'll move toward God's purpose for your life. But if you take advantage of the group that you have right now, this group that you've been reading 1 chapter a day of the Purpose-Driven Life, and say, hey guys, this is the one area of the 5 that I'm no longer going to allow doubt to slow me down or hold me back, I think you can make a decision today to go forward, to move forward toward your purpose before the semester's up.